Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again tonight here at Zoo LSR TV. We are live here at Bristol Motor Speedway. I am your host for tonight, Charles Wooten, in the booth. Alongside me is going to be Justin Prince calling all the action here tonight. Justin, I expect to see a really good race from everybody here tonight. A little bit shorter on the car count, but we could still see some good racing action.
Yes, indeed. Expecting a lot of bumping and banging here at Bristol Motor Speedway. A very tough racetrack and a very fast short track. Lap times in the 14.6s through 8s for a majority of the field tonight. Plus, it's going to become interesting to see if drivers prefer to run along the bottom and try and ride their way up to the top of the corner exit, or if they'll try and rim ride along the safer barriers.
Yeah, either one of those are going to be lines. This track is a very different track than we're used to seeing here on the circuit. Again, you got your 1.5 miles, your 2.5 miles, your 2 miles. This one, totally different. 0.52 miles, not even really a half mile, barely over if it is at that at all. Pit stop's going to be a challenge here. You've got to get on and off. Good news for these drivers, with that lower car count, you're not going to have to worry about which side of the pit road you're on. You're going to be on one side. It can get tricky when you have 43 cars here and they're trying to figure out where to go in their pit stall.
Yeah, that's definitely usually a factor in larger races, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue for these trucks tonight. But it's still going to be important, though, to be able to manage your equipment, because at a track such as Bristol, you have to think about a couple of things. Keeping your truck clean, but also making sure you don't burn up your tires. If you put too much heat in the tires as you race around this track, you will fall off a cliff in terms of pace. If you manage them, especially to be good in the middle run, there's a chance you can win tonight.
Yeah, good a chance if you do. Well, let's see here again. Right now, there are 18 drivers that have made the trip here under the lights for some racing action. And that's a note, too, here. It is a night race. It's not a hot night out, but still not really cool either. It's 82 degrees here on the track, temp 78 in the air. It could be a lot cooler. We could see down in the 60s, 65 into a 70. So still a decently warm track. We'll see how that affects these tires.
Yeah, that is a bit on the warmer side. But here's the thing, too. When it comes to Bristol, that track temp usually goes up and quick. The more rubber buildup you have, the more tighter the track usually swings. So it's going to be a challenge for these competitors tonight, especially knowing there's the chance to fight for a championship in just a couple races on the line.
Yeah, championship is coming very soon, and you can already see some of that black starting to form in the corners, as this track has some good banking in it. Well, time will tell who is sitting in victory lane. I know we have some fast drivers here, including Ryan Hartz, Shane Therian, Bronson Stafford, these guys in there that I know. You knew a couple of names coming in here, brand new up to this series, covering it here tonight. So a lot of fast drivers. It's going to be a battle up front here. The question I have for these drivers and for everyone out there is, how soon are we going to see lap cars be a factor here tonight? We get one or two cautions. Cars that get involved in wrecks, they're not quite as fast because they don't have any fast repairs. We could see lap cars being a factor sooner rather than later.
I wouldn't be surprised to see it being a factor in the first 15-20 laps if we get to that point at the start of the race, to be quite frank, because that's how much there's the potential of difference for some of these competitors if they don't get a good start. That's how much these drivers are going to be fighting. I expect there to be a lot of traffic management as well tonight, because it is difficult to get around this track, especially mid to long run. It can be difficult to get around the traffic, though, too, because there's a high chance you'll be forced off your preferred line.
Yeah, and you talk about that preferred line if you're coming around this track. I do have one piece of, vital information, in my opinion anyway, for these drivers out there that have been around this track. I've been around it a couple of times myself as well, and that is pay attention. If you see a wreck in front of you, this track, like Daytona, like Talladega, is one of those tracks that they kind of refer to as a self-cleaning track. If it's happening up high, don't necessarily go low, because what happens high will go to the bottom of this track eventually.
Yeah, and it's a track, mind you, too, that has the potential to have multiple big ones in the corners, because the way these drivers race these trucks, you're going full throttle about 85% of the lap. You might be just lifting off the gas to rotate and then slamming back down on the apex. There's going to be very little time to react and get on the brakes, if any, tonight, if there's trouble in front of you. So that can be definitely a factor in potential caution flags as this race goes on top of the self-cleaning factor.
Yeah, so you got a lot going against you, so you really got to be on your toes here and make sure you do everything you need to do, as the checkered flag is waving here for practice. Of course, that means only one thing, that it is time for qualifying. And again, it's going to be tough here to see who is on the pole. That's what we're about to find out now, is they are officially getting the green flag. 5 minutes, that is more than enough time to get around this track 2 times.
Yeah, your qualifying session usually at this type of track is done within the span of about a minute or so. It's just a matter of when you elect to come out. These drivers already see 2 degrees of track temperature drop. Many of the competitors are keeping an eye on that, potentially waiting to the end of the session based on trends at a track like Bristol to see will that change, because even 1 degree could be potentially even a couple 100s, and everyone wants to get the best time possible when it comes to racing here.
Yeah, you really do want to get the best time possible. And right now, that is Eric Stamp with that 14.719. We'll see who else is going to top that, as Jared Matthew out there. But Trent Jump, 14.685. So far, the only driver, as I say that, in the 14.6s, as Christian Gomez is going to do it as well.
Yeah, and you'll see these times definitely be important on the first time around for these trucks at Bristol with how quick they are. It's a preference, though, of if you want to run on the top or the bottom. Most competitors find, though, that it's better to save the tires in the long run to ride the bottom. It might not be as quick on the short, but it helps you in terms of long run pace for these competitors. Many of these drivers starting low or trying to at least ride the high side to try and carry the momentum.
Yeah, the high side is so momentous there, as you can get off these corners so quick. This track is just an amazing facility. Anyway, you know, totally different subject there, talking about this track. Not only is this track iconic for racing, that's not all it's held. I believe, wasn't there a college football game here as well?
Yeah, indeed, absolutely fantastic atmosphere when they held that college football game here back in the early part of the decade, last decade rather. That's how big this stadium can hold. It's one of the largest facilities in the country for a reason. And it is known for its absolute massive size for that type of atmosphere.
Yeah, it is amazing to be here. Football, racing, whatever it is. Obviously, we're glad to be here for some racing, of course, on iRacing.com, the world leading simulator in racing motorsports. As obviously we just got done watching just a couple hours ago the Pro Invitational eNASCAR race on Fox Sports 1. A few cautions there at the beginning, but let's hope we have a finish like they did there between, I believe it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. and I think it was Kyle Busch, wasn't it?
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin, there we go. I knew it was one of those. Regardless of who it was a great finish.
Yeah, it was an exciting race, but a very exciting finish. It could have went either way. But it all came down, I think, in that race to tire strategy. Denny Hamlin had the best tires to be able to charge his way up through the field and get by drivers such as Dale Jr. at the checker flag, such as Timmy Hill in that stellar race, Chase Briscoe having a good race. And don't forget about Garrett Smithley, who put in a ton of work in that race. All kinds of drivers took part in that race, and that is absolutely huge for the entire iRace community, not just the drivers involved.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big step. I pictured it when I heard they were going to do this, and details started coming in. Really, the only thing that came to mind was Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon. This was a big step for iRacing. And while we have nobody on the track here, if anybody's looking, obviously, to get into iRacing, you definitely should. This is the time to do it. You check them out, iRacing.com. Again, like I said, the world-leading racing simulator on PC. This is probably one of the best times ever to get in it, as it's getting big. But qualifying just about wrapping up. We do have one more drive around the track. Is Robert Kenny, and I expect him to be at least in the top 5 here in qualifying.
Why don't you take a listen here for a quick second, or rather watch as he crashes the truck and invalidates both his lap times. Was going to say, at the start and finish line, you're likely to hit the rev limiter. That time, unfortunately, he hit both the walls instead.
Yeah, so he hit something, like I said, wasn't the rev limiter. And again, yeah, right there at the start-finish line, probably the worst time you do, because, like you said, that does it for both laps and not just that one. So he's going to be starting from the back of the pack here tonight, and they're going to be getting on a pit road. We'll have 2 laps to go around this, again, a half-mile track. So we're going to jump down to the grid for tonight's race on row 1. It's going to be a good battle. I think he's got a good shot here tonight. That is the 11 of Ryan Hart's. On his outside, going to be Trenton Jump in that 46 machine, looking to get a good jump on the 11 of Ryan Hart's. On row 2 is going to be Christian Gomez in the 48 and the 61 of Bronson Stafford. Row 3 is going to be the 53 of Eric Stamp and the 51 of Jared Matthew. Row 4 is going to be the 38 of Shane Therian and the 32 of Justin Attil. Row 5 is going to be that 10 of Steve Durham and the 23 of Tanner Johnson. Row 6 is going to be the 84 of Matt Dyer and the 29 of Logan Brakey. And row 7 is going to be the 34 of Robert Kenny and the 45 of Cody Slaudecker. Row 8 is going to be the 21 of Tom Bourne. And unfortunately, that 27 machine not going to be making the call here tonight. So that's going to do it for your starting grid. Again, I expect to see a good battle. You got to watch that 61 of Bronson Stafford. He's fast, and he'll be up at the front even further, battling with the 3 there very soon.
Yeah, from what I've seen from him in the past, he is definitely good when it comes to short track racing here. And I think he might be in a great position because you want to be on the top for these starts. So everyone that's on that top line outside of the front row is in a great position to move themselves up the running order and get into a good rhythm. While the drivers at the bottom, they're going to have to be aggressive to try and hold on to where they started.
Yeah, they're going to have to be aggressive. And I believe it was you that was mentioning it a little bit ago about Nexus Esports or Nexus Gaming. That is what is on the side of that number 3 machine.
Yeah, Nexus, one of the big organizations in all of iRacing. Ryan, a part of that organization, and one of the tracks that the team always seems to be at its best is tracks such as Bristol. They have a lot of good short track racers in that organization, and Ryan's got to be somebody you have to watch, I think, tonight. He could be difficult to stop.
Yeah, he's been difficult all season. He does have the most runner-ups and the most poles, and he's going to add to that pole statistic here tonight as the green flag comes out, and we are racing for the first time 200 laps. We know at least one caution will come out of the halfway stage. It's Bristol. I expect to see at least a couple more than that, though.
That jump on the start, though, for Ryan as Trenton jumped his way up to the lead, and that's how important the top line is, because you carry so much more momentum off the corner that it ends up gaining you a lot of chances for passes. It burns the tires more, but it gains you some track position.
Yeah, and you've got to be careful of those tires. What I want to see here tonight is we're watching here. They're kind of single filing out for those first 4 or 5 cars. Is, you don't want to be up top. It will wear the tires out. If you're on that bottom side, are we going to see anybody maybe scoot up a lane and kind of push that outside car a little bit higher up the track than they want to be to try to wear those tires out for the competition a little bit more, just to give them that advantage?
I would say potentially, because we're already seeing this with the 3 truck with Ryan Hartz. He's the only one inside the top 7 that's going to the bottom. Again, the reason he's doing that, in the long run, it's the faster line because it saves the right side tires. The drivers up on the top, the right fronts are going to be very hot in about 30 laps or so, and they're going to potentially fall off to him.
Yeah, and you don't want those tires falling off. We'll see. Cautions are going to be a factor here, at least I think. So far, we are doing good. We're going to go a little deeper in this field here, as there's some still battles going on back here as well. Cody Slaudecker in that 45. The 29 of Logan Brakey had a little bit of a battle going on as well. Tom Bourne right behind them in the 21. So, again, this is a short track, so it doesn't matter where you're at, front or back. We're seeing some battles going on.
Yeah, and it takes multiple laps to set up battles at a track such as Bristol, because the laps are so quick where you have to think about every single move you try and make. You can't just stuff it in and hope you make a position stick. That's what Tom Bourne's trying to do. He's trying to set up a potential opportunity with Logan Brakey while making sure he doesn't go too aggressive. You go too aggressive, that's where you hit the back end of the truck.
Yeah, you hear it all the time. Aggressive goes around. You don't want to go around. You don't want to spin the competition in front of you either, as he's going to try to set himself up for that pass now. And he's not going to quite complete it, but it looks like he did kind of rattle the cage of that 29 of Logan Brakey, and it caused him to check up a little bit, and he will complete the pass.
Good execution on that pass, being able to take advantage of Brakey getting tight off the corner. And now you can see the difference in pace already, pulling away by a couple truck lengths. And that's also one of the things you have to think about as a driver. You can't immediately get frustrated with the trucks around you, because you know there's a chance you're faster than the competitor ahead. It's just you can't just immediately pass them or have a lot of the space you might have at, say, 1.5 miles to do so.
Yeah, you definitely cannot press issues. Not being able to press issues and methodically make your passes and not wreck your car or the competition car. It's one of those things, amongst other factors, that will separate a good racer from a great racer. And he's going to obviously do good here as he gets around him. And now we got a battle just in front of them between Tanner Johnson, Steve Durham, and Cody Slaudecker. This is a 3-car battle. And meanwhile, the battle up front is beginning to go as well.
Yeah, the top 3 have stayed the way that it was expected, but already things getting dicey. A bit of a checkup just in front of one of the battles we're keeping up with. Eric Stamp ran into the back end of the truck in front, then got rear-ended by the 38 machine. All the drivers, though, still able to keep going, but 2 of those trucks have damage.
Yeah, these trucks, as I keep referring to them as cars, they are trucks, though. Eric Stamp now going to have a little bit of damage to the backside of that machine. We'll see how that fares here. Good news is this is not a big aerodynamic track, but still, you don't want to acquire a lot of damage when you do not have a fast repair. And Bronson Stafford is trying to run down that 46 of Trenton Jump. He was as close as 0.133 seconds away, and is closed again to nearly 2 seconds, or 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, and again, you can see the preference from the top 2. They just prefer the top line. Ryan, knowing what's going on with the tire wear at this type of circuit, is still electing to stay on that bottom side. But here's the problem when you get side by side. You have to lift off the gas to make sure you don't slide up into the truck above you, because that's where you have trouble happen. So it can get somewhat frustrating at this stage of the race to make something work if you're on the bottom. But I think eventually it is going to work for Ryan.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that gap now, 0.099 seconds. And there's the contact I was just about to mention, is the 11 of Ryan Hartz. He could capitalize if these 2 get together on track. Oh, and as I say that, he gets together with Stafford.
This ain't good. What a save.
That was probably the save of the race right there for Bronson Stafford. Again, it shows you how good these drivers are. If you can save something like that, that could have easily taken out 5, 6, 7, 8 car or trucks here from this race.
Yeah, what a heads-up move by these competitors to see what was happening and immediately be able to give space, even going 3 wide to avoid the incident. That could have been much more worse, but that's the good thing now for Trenton Jump, because he's now jumped to a 2-second lead because of that trouble. Everyone else got held up in that fight.
Yeah, and that's going to move Christian Gomez to second place. So it's going to be interesting to see now that Christian Gomez, you know, we talk about clean air being key. He's almost got a little bit of clean air because Trenton Jump is 2 seconds ahead. So it's almost like you have 2 different leaders. We'll see how his truck handles against Ryan Hart's here. But for the meantime, he looks like he's able to hold him off here for second place.
Yeah, indeed, right now, and he's still committed. Here's the thing, though. The reaching lap traffic, Alex Walter just up the road, and you have to be able to know what's going on with the truck in front. This is going to force Ryan off his preferred line, but this might actually set up a potential run if he can time it up right. No.
Oh, can't quite get there, but he's going to try. Nope, he thought about it. He got his nose in there, but didn't go ahead and try to complete that, but he's not done yet, as he's going to try to go ahead and complete it as he goes into the corner. And he went in, but that truck slid up a little bit, and he had to get off the gas.
If Ryan Hartz wants to complete this pass, though, I think he might have to go a little bit higher up, like about a half a lane, to try and get some of that similar run we see for Gomez. It is possible. He's just not willing to cross that midway portion of the progressive banking to try and give the squeeze. He's trying to give space in this early portion of this race.
Yeah, and too, he was kind of doing that when him and Bronson Stafford got together. So, you know, that could be weighing on him a little bit. Hey, I tried this once. It didn't quite work out. It almost cost me more than I was willing to pay. So he's going to be testing those waters a little bit more to see if maybe he can try it again. He is looking, and he's looking repeatedly, but he just hasn't found that perfect moment. And that's the key. You've got to find a good time to do it.
Here's the thing, too. Despite being side by side, these two trucks are actually gaining on Trenton Jump. So the long run speed is starting to settle in for these drivers. And I think at this point, Ryan knows if he wants to get a pass done, he can't start it by going to the bottom. He has to go up to the top. Caution goes out.
It is indeed. And it's going to be back for Steve Durham in the number 10 machine. At least he's involved in it. As we go back and we'll check in Matt Dyer, the 84, involved as well. Take a look and see what happened.
This was madness, it looked like. They were 3 wide for what appears to be a top 10 spot. And that's not a good thing at Bristol. Matthew ended up getting on the high side, hooked around Durham, and nowhere else for 3 of the trucks to go. Ends up blowing a couple motors in the process.
And that is, like you said, 4 wide hardly works at Talladega or Daytona. It's definitely not going to work here at Bristol. And going to involve a lot of good trucks there as our first caution comes out to about mid to rear of the field. The guys up front seeming to be fairly safe here so far. But the question, you know, we have to ask it, are cautions, breed cautions, is that going to be the case here tonight? It seems like once you get that first one, drivers get a little bit more antsy and you start seeing them build up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once drivers know they are good on fuel, usually they push and push a ton based on experience. And the ones who end up winning the races usually are the ones who think calmly and collectively. You have to be careful when it comes to those types of moves. This early on, I think people are going to be more calm and collected at least. A little bit more smart, especially since they know that at the halfway point they'll get that stage caution.
Yeah, you've got to race smarter, not harder, especially here at a track like Bristol. So, of course, we'll know our answer to the question of cautions, breeding cautions here momentarily. But right now, that 46 machine of Trenton Jump, he got a good jump, got the lead early, and, I'm not going to say he has been able to hold off this field. He has been up front, and you would think he's been holding off this field, but really, he held off for a little bit, and then we saw that incident between Ryan Hartz and Bronson Stafford, and he's kind of just been away from the field for a while. But as you mentioned, they were starting to reel him in, so I'm not convinced he may be able to hold them off, but he's been able to so far. But, that could change here shortly.
I think he's good on the short run. That's the one thing for Trenton Jump. It also is, mind you, pretty difficult to pass at Bristol. I think if we get a long run, though, there's a chance that a lot of competitors try and work the bottom side to make a pass. It's easier said than done, though, Charles. That's the thing, because, again, you kind of need to start up on the top to get a run, and 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get to somebody's quarter panel. You're going to need to...
So we're going to go racing, or back to racing here momentarily. Real quickly, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight on a Sunday night as we cover the Adrenaline iRacing League live here on LSR TV. Make sure you tune in each Sunday for some great racing. Of course, Monday night, me and you'll be back in the booth once again for some more racing for the Northwest Racing Cup Series, and we got one loose.
A big-time misshift by Eric Stamp. He just absolutely blew the shift. I'm surprised there wasn't a big one right there. A lot of trucks now with damage.
Yeah, they had to shake him or get around him, and they're still getting into the outside walls. Eric Stamp smacks that wall, and no, now the contact, and that's going to bring out a caution. And there it is. So, I almost want to say that was part of that, but it really wasn't. They did kind of sort it out.
He misjudged the corner exit and floored it straight into the corner, and that's something you can easily do on the front straightaway. And just everyone stacked up. Once everyone stacked up and started making contact, they just kept on stacking up and stacking up for days.
Yeah, they do. As we're watching the replay right there, like you said, just stacked them up and then kind of wadded them up after that. So caution comes out for the second time here tonight. As, again, not the way these guys wanted to go, but we're almost about a quarter of the way done with this race. We still have the competition caution for the stage going to be coming out, but we'll see how many of these drivers are going to make it to that point.
Yeah, that took out about half our field, honestly. This could be absolutely huge for some of the drivers who are looking to try and gain points tonight. Not the race some of these competitors wanted to have or have significant damage at this point of the race, because you mentioned this is a track that isn't as aerodynamically sensitive. If you get engine damage, though, at this racetrack, it puts you down to the straight line speed, and even a little bit of damage on the engine department can put you down about even a half a tenth or a full tenth a lap, and that can add up at a track such as Bristol.
Yeah, it definitely can, and that's the last thing you want is to collect all that damage. Again, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, some of these leagues allow these drivers a lifeline, a fast repair. This league does not. So if you get damage, you can get it fixed, but you're going to be sitting on pit road. And if it's optional, you're in a little bit of luck. You can try to get some of that repaired and get back on the track. But unlike the 1.5 mile tracks where you can come in, get some optional repair done, and get back out there before the pace car puts you a lap down, and the pits are closed, that is very tough to do at a track like this because it's so short. By the time you get very little damage repaired, you're almost going a lap down anyway.
Let me put it this way. You're repairing at the most on the first pit stop. If you don't take tires, mind you, you have to think about the fact that you spun on the tires potentially, maybe 30 seconds. Every other stop, you're shutting off, you're making sure there's no tires, no fuel, maybe 15 seconds. So you're hoping that there's multiple caution flags to fix the damage. You do not want anything over even 30 seconds, usually. Anything over a minute, your race could be done until the later portions of the event.
Yeah, and of course, good news is if you have just a little bit of damage, maybe, 20 seconds, worth of repair. If you can hang on to it until we have that stage caution at the completion of lap 100, you can try to squeeze it in there. But we'll see if anybody does. Is a favorite here that usually has good runs, and that 34 machine of Robert Kinney. He's got heavy, heavy damage, and that is definitely going to be more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, these drivers definitely going to be hampered out here with this green flag too.
They are indeed, as the green flag comes back out. Sidebar on the left side of your screen as we are racing one more time. And Trenton Jump got a good jump there as the front two are about to see a really good battle as here comes Hart's back to the inside.
Yeah, he chose wisely again on the lane choice to be able to control that top line because of the strength of that. But Ryan again is showing how good he is on that bottom line to carry a lot of momentum for the apex. It's just you lose so much of it coming off because you can get a big run off the banking on the top.
Yeah, you can. It's almost like getting shot out of a cannon when you shoot back down the banking. He gets a huge run off of that, and it's exactly why he's up there doing it. As we'll see, that battle is still underway. There's a little bit of battle. We talked about him earlier, that 21 of Tom Bourne. Here he is sitting in 5th position. He's running down Logan Brakey, and we may see him crack into the top 4 here very soon.
Yeah, those are two demolished trucks in the front nose that are going to have to deal with potential overheating too with how the gear ratios are set up here. But I think Logan knows that he's down on speed, just going to sacrifice the spot.
Yeah, he's going to let him by, and that's good news for Tom Bourne as he will take that spot away. And, we talked about half the field, and they had multiple damage, obviously more than would allow for 30 seconds or so to get back out on the track. We only have 12 trucks on the track right now. Steve Durham is slow on the apron. He'll pick up a few spots, but that truck is definitely not handling the way he wants as the battle for the lead is underway.
And Ryan showing why he was so good even when side by side in that mid-run last time. Just needs to clear him if he wants the chance. Jump's not giving him any space though off the corners.
He is not. He is not giving him an inch, and that's what you have to do. You have to defend your line and defend your position, and he's doing a fantastic job of just that. As we may see a battle like we saw in that eNASCAR Pro Invitational for the win. We're seeing that here early in this race. It'll be interesting to see how the end of this race does play out.
Yeah, and I think Ryan knows the way this race is trending, he needs to try and make the pass, especially with us approaching that stage caution flag and valuable points on the line. Just can't get the run he needs to get on Jump. Now, as hard as he's going, especially since Jump is trying to go to the middle off of turn 4 to diamond the corner there.
And those bonus points are going to be huge. You talk about 10 versus 9 points. It's only 1 point. But when it comes down to a championship, I've seen it many times. I'm sure you have. A championship can be won by just one single point. So you've got to try to get every point you can. And just to point out, while these two are battling, Christian Gomez and Tom Bourne have caught both of them. We could see a 4-way battle for the lead pretty soon.
Yeah, that's how hard these drivers are fighting at this point. They've been able to inch close. It's just got to be smart, though, if you're Gomez along with Bourne. I think you just follow along and see what happens because you make one bad move going to the bottom, especially now if you're Ryan Hartz, there's a chance those two drivers behind can make the pass on the top.
Yeah, and, just to point out here, we're going to go up to Trenton Jump real fast, and if we could go to his back of the truck real fast so we can get there on that and look. If you're looking behind him on that gearbox cam, it is a sea of red and black behind him right now. So he's hoping he don't get beat up and bruised too bad, I'm sure. But again, a sea of red and black there with Hartz, Gomez, and Bourne right behind him.
Yeah, especially with them being all similar colors, right? So Trent's doing a great job trying to hold on. Mind you, Ryan, the stage lead winner in terms of victories at the stage cautions, was 7. For Trenton Jump, he's looking for his 3rd stage win of the season.
He is indeed. We'll go up to the nose cam of that 11 machine, and you can see just how close he is. Again, like you mentioned earlier, passing is very difficult. That you've got to plan it out here. I'm pretty sure if the 11 of Reinhardt's really wanted to, he could have already passed, but it wouldn't have been a clean pass, and it probably would have torn up both of the trucks and some others.
Yeah, absolutely, and you don't want to risk that, especially with the way the trucks with potential contact comes here at Bristol. 9 times out of 10, you're getting involved too. So Ryan, I think, is playing this very smart here, just trying to go as it lays and tries to keep up the pressure. Force jump to make a mistake. Don't make a mistake yourself like you did the last time you try to make a battle work.
Yeah, he made that mistake once. He won't make it again. And that's another key of making a great driver. You find out what you can and what you can't do. He found out what he couldn't do, and now he's not going to do that again. However, we do have lap cars coming into the picture. This could be beneficial for him. It also could hurt him as well.
Now, smart move there from the 15 machine to get off the track. This is going to get tight, though, because right behind them, they're still side by side. 2 battles going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out who you want to watch as 2 side-by-side battles in contact between 3rd and 4th place. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to allow the 21 of Tom Bourne to take the 2nd position away, or 3rd position, my bad.
Yeah, and that's the potential possibility there with how close you have to drive to get towards that middle line, especially if you're the driver on the bottom. Now I'm curious to see what Bourne can do. He's a plus 12 from the qualifying session already. And more traffic is on the way too.
Yeah, he has moved a lot since the start of this race. As pull that up there for you. 15th to 3rd here in that number 21 machine. I'm not convinced that 48's done with him just yet. He did kind of door slam him, but it was a very light door slam. So we'll see if that battle continues. Meanwhile, the battle up front is 0.66 seconds away. That 11 of Trent Jump still trying to find a way around, but he just hasn't found it yet.
I think Ryan's patience is starting to go away just a little bit because they nearly made contact coming off the last corner. So I think Ryan's starting to try and push through the issue a little bit, knowing that he feels he's faster. It's just the problem that he's not been able to actually set up the pass on Jump because of the difficulty here. So it might come to him having to give a squeeze with how Jump is trying to diamond to the middle every corner exit.
Yeah, and we haven't seen anybody really even attempt this yet, to use those chrome horns out there and kind of do it. I've seen it done before, and done properly, you can do it. You know, the driver in front of you may not like it too much, but if you can get them just right and just give them a little nudge, you don't wreck them, you just give them that little nudge and move them out of the line as the 46 hits the wall, and that may do it. But give them that nudge, and you can get them out of the racing line and pass them.
It's easier said than done, though, because there's 2 different factors. 1, you do it any little bit wrong, you're in trouble. 2, one truck is in trouble, it's Brakey.
Brakey going around as we go back and to take a look and see what happened. And we'll take a look at the instant replay. But Brakey having a good run up until this point.
Well, he had been trying to play it smart, knowing he had a very damaged truck. The thing is, though, he just got loose off the corner, trying to avoid the wall, and not expecting it, just came across the nose of Matthew, who was already closing in on a different strategy with the wave around. So just a racing incident, I think you have to say. 2 things going wrong at the same time for 2 different drivers.
Yeah, and unfortunate. Again, started good and just was hanging in there. And that is just sometimes how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And it doesn't work out for you. He'll come in and get what damage he can repaired. So he will probably be back out here in a little bit. He is getting some new tires on that machine. But as of right now, a lot of those guys that were in the pits earlier are back on track. So we currently have 16 drivers now versus 12 we had just a few laps ago.
Here's the thing, though. Take a look at who stayed out on the racetrack. Ryan Hart. I think he knows at this point that he needs to be in front of Jump to be able to have any track position for the race lead. He's going to risk it on very old tires. I don't know if I like the call, but he knows that all he needs to do is hold on for, 15 laps? And he might get a stage win, and everyone will have to take tires again. This might be a call that could be a race-winning move already from Ryan.
It very well could be. And again, it could be a race win, and it very well could be a stage win. So both going to be very important here for points. As again we mentioned, the chase will be coming up very soon, and once that chase hits, we'll be going over all the point standings week by week. Right now, they are quite spread out per se, the way the points work, but they will reset at that point, and that is when we're going to follow them very closely, as it looks like Shane Therion's going to get the wave around here, as well as the 5 and the 61 of Trevor Blythe and Bronson Stafford. So a couple more drivers getting their laps back.
Yeah, at this point, why not try and get an extra track position if you can, even with some of the damage, and then try and at least fight for the lucky dog. Those drivers, multiple, like 20-plus laps down. Well, I put it this way in the category of Bronson Stafford. After being involved in his big one, his response to many of the drivers was sad winky face. Sad winky face means, I'm happy, but I also feel like crying at the same time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely the emojis or whatever they're called being used here tonight. And it looks like here that Ryan Hart's opting to take the outside line for the restart. As I don't blame him. He was on the inside repeatedly trying to get by that 46, and it would not work. So he's going to take the outside lane here for the restart.
Yeah, it's been such a good line on these starts. It's been nearly impossible to get a good run on the bottom side. And what a jump by Ryan.
Yeah, a huge jump as the green flag comes back out. We are now 15 laps away from the stage caution, so we know a planned caution going to be coming out soon, and he got a huge jump. Look who's back at it again, the 21 and the 48 of Gomez and Bourne. They kind of single file now, but they were side by side there for about a lap and a half.
As expected, though, the car on the top with the advantage. Bit of trouble for Jump. He hit the wall again. And now it's getting to the point where you start to worry about the damage on the right front fender of the 46, because his right front suspension may start to come apart.
And you can look right there as we run on board with him. The whole front of that truck on the right side is pushed up, which means if the hood's pushed up, most likely that splitter on the bottom is going to be pushed up as well. So he definitely has got to be careful to stay out of that wall. If he gets too much damage, again, even if it's not aerodynamic track, you're going to see these guys starting to get past him.
It's going to make it more and more difficult for him to turn in and off the corner, especially. Since not only do you have that damage on the fender affecting you, when you have the splitter pushed up, it's getting air underneath of it. And the more that air that gets underneath, the more unglued the truck can get, where it's harder to handle. And Jump showing that already, losing tons of ground despite fresher tires.
Yeah, those fresh tires are not working in the... he's still got that sea of red behind him, one less truck. So now he's got the sea of red, and he's right in the mix of it. He's got one in front, one there, two behind, and he has got to hold these guys off. Again, I don't know if that truck's going to be a winning truck now because of that damage, but he's only got, right now, 8 laps coming up to 7 laps to go, and he will at least get those 9 bonus points. That's good, because then if you lose 4 or 5 more spots overall, you still get some good points out of tonight.
Yeah, that's the main thing, especially with only a couple races before you get to that chance for a championship. So you want all the points you can get to get yourself into that situation by the time you get to the next race coming up next week.
Yeah, you definitely you want to be there. You want to be in the chase. I think things are really going to start ramping up once we get into that chase. Once those points reset, and it is game on for the last final races, and it's going to be a good race. We have some super speedways in there. We also have some short tracks in there, 1.5 miles, so it's going to be mixed. And note there, those were voted on as well.
Yeah, indeed, the middle portions of that chase for the Adrenaline Cup specifically. But that opener in Las Vegas is going to be absolutely fun with 134 laps. A lot of potential strategies when that race gets underway. But remember, there's still one more race after this in the regular season to determine who goes to that postseason.
Yeah, so we have one more race, and we'll go over that here probably just a little bit if we get a break in the racing action. But again, this battle for second, third, and fourth is where it's at. Hart's right now with a 1 second lead. He jumped out to that lead.
Just starting lap 100 now, so that competition caution coming right up. Curious to see if anyone's going to be aggressive for the points here. Looks like they'll just take the points all and go.
Yeah, they are. There's your leader crossing the line. And as soon as these go, there it is, a caution coming out for the stage caution. Nothing to go over wreck-wise, so we're going to take this break in the action real fast to hear a word from one of our sponsors. So we'll be right back as those lights go off.
Based out of West Monroe, Louisiana, we do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts. As you can see on our board here, all around our banner, personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. You can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold, to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
All right, interesting pit stops here in multiple ways. But most important here is Trenton Jump. Tom Bourne getting ready to take the green. 2 tire stops for those front 2.
Yeah, I am honestly surprised a little bit there, but it was only about a 15-lap difference. That's usually inside the cushion where we see drivers try it. Here's the problem. Usually, you're good for 15 laps on 2 tires, then the 4 tires start to settle in. Going to be interesting here to see how they play out.
It is going to be very interesting. Green flag is out, and we are racing once again. And Jump gets a good jump over Bourne and the rest of this field. They single file out for the first 5. But here comes that 3 of Ryan Hart's, or 11 technically being scored as. And he is not holding back any. He's already down to the inside, trying to make the pass on the 48 of Gomez. And hasn't completed that pass yet, but he's got fresh tires, and he's going to take full advantage of them.
Yeah, you can see how much momentum Ryan's carrying here. The problem is, Gomez also took 4 tires, but the top 2 about to start scrapping.
The top 2 are going to duke it out here again. Oh, and that's what I was afraid of. Old tires, and we are going to wad up the front of the field.
Ryan Hart's one of the fastest trucks all night. Has been involved, and he's blown his engine.
That is not good for him. As we go back and take a look at the replay, old tires, I think, were the culprit here.
Yeah, you had cold tires on one side of the truck, warm tires on the other. Usually that's somewhat okay. The problem is, Jump just ended up getting some contact. Bourne just drifted up the racetrack, got tight, and that's what can happen on the 2 tires with the V7 tire model. Gomez is lucky to miss it. But Ryan Hart, my goodness, one of the main contenders all night, he's out of it.
Yeah, he is done, and that is a heartbreak. And we mentioned this earlier in the season here, that once again, Ryan Hart's in the Heartbreak Hotel, as he has been there more times than not, running first, second, third, leading the most laps, getting the most poles, and then something happens to him. It's unfortunate because he's always fast, he's a good driver, but just does not have Lady Luck on his side right now.
Yeah, that is the worst possible luck I think you could have seen for him, unfortunately. I feel bad for him. Him and his organizational teammate in Matthew for this series have both had horrific races. Just unfortunate, coming to 88 laps to go, and now the whole complexion of the race has been flipped upside down. It can go to anybody now, because that took basically all our contenders in it.
Yeah, and Trenton Jump has went ahead and put it on the hauler. He's done. Was still being scored technically as the leader there for a minute, but now Tanner Johnson is your race leader here. So we'll pull that main bar up for you there. You see it. 4 laps. That has been under caution for the most part here anyway. Again, you've got Johnson, Teal, Walters. Your top 3, we haven't really even talked about a whole lot here tonight. You have to go all the way back to 4th and 5th before you see drivers that we actually have been talking about up front here tonight.
Yeah, and those trucks are still getting damage repaired. That's how significant that incident was in that case. There's a chance now for a lot of these drivers to have some great points, so there's a lot of damaged fenders here. I think the only clean truck is Alex Walter, who's in 3rd position, and he was a lap down at one point. Everybody else has a damaged front end at the minimum.
It's going to be interesting to see how the end of this race goes. Again, like you just mentioned, this whole race has been turned upside down now compared to what we saw, just 10 laps ago. And that's been under caution here for the last 4 or 5 so, but again, I don't know who's going to be in victory lane later. To be frank, I don't think any of these drivers yet know who's going to.
Already some drivers might have a delayed yellow here to try and let some of the R trucks go here. And it's now become basically a battle of attrition here. Whoever survives to the end might be the winner.
Yeah, and I want to note as we're about to get that green flag, Trenton Jump, Ryan Hart's, as of right now, are still scored in the top 10, but that's going to change as some of these drivers do get by them, and the green flag comes back out once again. And that 23 machine of Tanner Johnson gets a good jump. And now we get to kind of see how some new drivers are going to react here up in the front with Gomez not being one of those new drivers, though.
Yeah, Gomez basically the only of the drivers we've talked about that hasn't been involved in too many substantial incidents in the Sparco gaming machine. I think there's a chance he might be able to make a move here. It's just a matter, though, of trying to time out the runs again, and him and Johnson are running the identical line, starting up to the top for the most part, and trying to bank it down off towards the bottom off the exits.
You know, it would almost be a little ironic if we saw this 23 machine putting it in victory lane here tonight. You know, we just watched it to bring that back up on that eNASCAR Pro Invitational. FedEx getting the win there. Could FedEx go 2 for 2 and get it here tonight as well?
If he does stuff like that, he's not. That was close. Off the wall, and now his right front suspension's got damage.
That is going to cost him the lead for sure as he's down on the bottom. Gomez looking to get the lead for the first time here tonight, and he'll do it. He'll lead his first lap of this race. He's been trying all night, and now with a couple of heavy hitters out of the race, this could go to Christian Gomez in that 48 machine.
Yeah, he's now in the catbird seat. Johnson, because of that lost amount of momentum, I think he's in a very rough spot now. I think he might still have okay-ish speed, but you can just see now that he's lost that front group. He's not got the straight line speed he had even before he topped that wall. And Gomez has the cleanest truck in that entire top 5. Well, outside of Alex Walter.
Yeah, he definitely does. We'll see Justin Teal, a little bit of damage to the back and the front. He's trying to fight his way to that top position. We'll see if he can hang in there as we go a little further back here. And for the most part, if you go throughout this field, everyone is pretty spread out right now. And what that does mean for us is we could see the rest of this race go green flag condition. So we could see our first green flag pit stops.
Honestly, they're good on the fuel at 100 laps. What they might try, and this is a major gamble with tires, it's very unlikely, but some drivers might pit at 50 to go. I very much doubt it, though, because the time doesn't add up. If you had a 125 lap run, I can definitely guarantee that because the tire difference would be massive. But these drivers can make it on the fuel from here, Charles.
There we go. Again, not doing my homework there. I forgot they could make it on fuel for 100 laps, so fuel won't be an issue. Tires, we'll see, as it's going to really come down to then who can, save and protect these tires a little bit, as they are gold as Christian Gomez smacks the outside wall.
And it looks like there was some trouble with the 6th place truck all of a sudden because Kenny having some contact and trouble.
We've seen several drivers that have just, got into each other, got into the wall. This has not been a very clean race for the trucks. Caution-wise, not so much. But as far as these trucks keeping clean, it's lucky they don't have to pay the bill to fix them.
Well, that's the beauty of virtual racing, right? There isn't the cost of fixing the truck for $100,000. If it happened on sim racing, I don't know what to really say at that point. So that kind of affects how the drivers race, though, knowing that you aren't feeling the G's potentially on the sim, but you're also knowing that depending on where you're at, you might get a fresh truck for the next race, ready for you when you're ready to get back to the track.
Yeah, you like having that fresh truck when you need it, not having the bill of paying it. As Christian Gomez, even after smacking that outside wall just a second ago, he has about a 10 car length lead over Justin Till right now. And we'll see right there as they come to the line. We have 67 laps to go. And I point that out because it was not too long ago. We had 90-something laps to go. I think it was like 95. Now we're coming up around 65. So laps are starting to wind down very quickly at 14, 15 seconds a lap.
That's at least 4 laps a minute. And the thing is, these laps go very quick, as you mentioned. So let me put it into perspective. If you go green, this race potentially could take about 20 minutes. When iRacing's official races came here for 125, 150 lap events, they lasted maybe 40 minutes with the pit stop. So that's how quick these races can go if you go green flag checkered.
Yeah, and we've almost done that here tonight. As pull up your caution information here so far. 5 cautions. I say almost. We've had a few. Technically only 4 for 19 laps out of 136 completed. That is not bad when it comes to cautions here at Bristol. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it can be very worse. There's been some races that can get up in the double digits in the same amount of distance. But these drivers have been nice and respectful, but in part because of so many of the big incidents being early on, everyone's been so spread out in the second half of the race that the aggression level hasn't been as high as you normally see at Bristol for the second half of a race like this.
And we got the 84 of Matt Dyer back out on the track right now. He started 11th. He's in 15th. He is currently 43 laps down, but he did make it back out onto the track. Again, he's looking to make up some positions here, as the next one that he would catch would be Ryan Hartz, who's currently 31 laps down. And obviously with 60 laps, he could at least almost get a top 10. He'd be about in 13th place if nothing else happens to him.
And that's why drivers go back on the track that many laps down. They know there's valuable points on the line, and that's what Dyer's trying to do. Here's the problem, though, pardon me, is there's the chance they can blow engines with the damage. Because as mentioned at the top of the broadcast, these drivers are hitting the rev limiters with the way it's set up on a full engine power package right at the start and finish line towards the entrance of the corner. If you're Dyer or even Logan Brakey, you're looking at your temperature gauges, especially your oil temps, and saying, please do not blow up. There's the chance they're blinking red.
Yeah, they very well could be. And you see those two, the 84 and the 29, running close on the track. However, position-wise, they are nowhere near each other. The 84 is in 15th, 43 laps down. Logan Brakey only 1 lap down in 7th position. If the caution was to come out, Logan Brakey could get his lap back. Well, again, I don't think he's going to have a winning truck. He can at least try to salvage maybe a top 5 out of this.
And somebody else is blown up. Pardon me there for a second. The 15 truck, we were just talking about that. He's blown up. He's now in the pit lane. And another truck, and Eric Stamp has made its way out, crab walking on the apron.
Oh, trucks coming back out, trying to get those valuable points. Again, we harp on it a lot, but those points are valuable when it comes to the chase in the playoffs. And like you said, he is crab walking
is
now.
out. Hold on, somebody crashed into the barrels here for a second. I think Blank just crashed into the barrels and brought out the caution.
Oh, let's take a look here at the replay and find out what happened. As Tyler Blythe bringing out the caution. Unofficially, we're about to find out for sure if that was the case. And he's on pit road. He wasn't on pit road at this point, so I'm going to say that was a correct call from you.
He definitely got some help, though, at the same time. Possibly he was close to Durham. One moment they're side by side. The next, he gets sent around towards the barrels. Was lucky to not get a harder hit to the barrels, but now this is going to reset things, and I think Gomez is still in a good position with how the rest of the trucks have gone. But this is now going to allow a lot of drivers to fix the damage that's built up on their machines.
Yeah, and that was, in terms of getting into the what could be tires there. In this case, those barrels that are probably filled with sand or water. That was probably the lightest tap I have ever seen into one of those. That being said, he has packed it onto the trailer either way. So, as of right now, Tyler Blythe, Trenton Jump, Ryan Hartz, Jared Matthew, Cody Slawdecker, are out of this race, and the 27 of Kieran Collins was a scratch tonight. He did not start the race, so he'll receive a DNS. Everyone else out that I mentioned will receive DNSs. Eric Stamp is still in the race, but in pit road right now, 105 laps down.
I'm surprised he was allowed on that racetrack, honestly, because that suspension, if we got the chance to look in that Taco Bell machine, he was crab walking. Not a good thing. Let's put it that way. He was struggling even keeping a straight line on the apron, so I think he's just trying to log laps because there's a chance he can gain one spot for 16.
Yeah, he could gain that spot again. We'll see if he does decide to come back out onto the track. So it's going to be interesting as we're under caution once again. This is, I don't want to say it's go time if you've got anything here, if you're in those front drivers right now. We usually say about 20 to go is go time. But, how much does it change as a driver at a track like this? Because what would be, 10, 15, 20 laps in the go time, it's a lot going to be different here, I think, because the track is so short. That 15 laps is going to take less time than, say, 20 laps. So it'll be interesting.
The go time here at Bristol, in my opinion, I think it's go time as soon as these guys reach the green flag, to be honest, because the laps, again, go by so quickly, and we've seen how much these drivers can run away potentially with some of the damage on some of these trucks for the long run. You might have 20 laps to get the pass done off this green flag if it goes green, so I'd say it's go time. It's going to get interesting, though, because Gomez elected to defer out of the lead, and Teal came up first in the pits.
Yeah, so that will be interesting there. Again, so many decisions have to be made in such a short time as Justin Teal outside row. I'm not sure. I know that outside lane is good as the pace car dives off and we get the green flag. He gets a huge jump over the 48 of Gomez, but I thought Gomez would have had a little bit better start than that.
Yeah, that was a bad start to trouble.
Trouble indeed. The 63 going around of Alex Walter. And the question is, did he have help? I imagine he probably did.
Yes, indeed. Remember that FedEx truck you said was in a good spot? Commentator's curse truck, and then the bad luck train continued. He actually helped around Walter. Too hard on the entry with too much momentum. And there goes our last clean truck of the race.
And unfortunately, giving him a jinx there, we apologize for that. But right there, around he goes. And that will bring out caution once again. And we'll see Justin Teal still out front leading this thing. But we are starting to thin this field out very quickly now here in these last closing laps.
Honestly, I'm not sure how this race is going to play out at this point because we've seen a lot. And now, at this point, I think if you've got the least amount of damage wins, Justin Teal currently has that advantage right now in his 32 truck.
I definitely agree with that. He's got the least amount of damage. He's only got a little bit in the front, a little to the back. And someone we really hadn't talked about a whole lot, Shane Therian, was in a good, decent position there. He's still 22 laps down, but he's going to come in and get tires and fuel, I'm sure. But as of right now, and this is where it's getting interesting, as we have 7 drivers on the lead lap, we do not have a single driver that would get the wave around or the lucky dog, as the next car is 14 laps down with Austin Gretorix.
And we have to remember Gretorix blew his engine, mind you, so that position's going to go down the pylon. Next position, Toro. He's getting repairs. Stafford, he's getting repairs. You mentioned the 38 machine. He's in the best position to potentially steal a top 10 in this race with the damaged front end. It's been a wacky one.
It has been indeed. A typical Bristol here. A little wacky, but still, what you would think of as a Bristol. A lot of bent fenders, and I can almost assure you, And based on what we heard on radio chatter a little while ago, probably some tempers flared as well.
I mean, it's a short track, and there's the chance the tempers can indeed flare. That the thing is, though, when it's considerable amounts of contact, the tensions build and build and build. Eventually, they may go overboard. You don't want them to go overboard as a driver, but that does happen here at Bristol, where there are some drivers who may say, you know what, let's do this. I don't think it's going to come to that the way this race has gone with how many trucks are left for position, but it's something that can potentially happen in these types of stop-start situations.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, when we get the caution and we race and we get people getting those tempers built up a little bit, hopefully we don't see it, but we've seen it in IRL racing. We've seen it in sim racing a lot. Once you get these cars stacked back up as we're getting the green flag, if you want to, give a little payback, this is your time to do it as the field is bunched back up, that the green flag is back out. Justin Till with a good jump, and we're going to go side by side for about third position.
Yeah, Robert Kenny, remember, got put in the fence by the 5 truck just a few laps before a couple cautions ago. I think he's still in okay shape in that 34, even though the right front tire is flared up and barely touching the track with the camber damage. But he's has a good chance at top 4, especially since Walter, he appears to be down on engine speed and losing a lot of time.
And just behind them, Bronson Stafford in that 61 machine. Just watched him once again smack that outside wall. He's got to be careful. I mean, he's already got quite a bit of damage. But once you start building that damage, like you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, you can start, slight little bumps like that can get you even more engine damage, and that engine can blow up.
Yeah, with the way these cars are set up, these trucks, I should rather say, pardon me, that's how the setup can be. You're right at the very edge of temperatures, and if you have that front nose damage, you can be in trouble with the front.
Oh, big lick for the 32. And that's going to send him upside down. Johnson getting involved in it as well.
I think there might be maybe 2 trucks on the lead lap here. My goodness. Justin Teal, just seeing the potential pass coming. Gomez just ended up hitting his right and left rear corner panel because Teal tried to do what we've seen a couple times this race, Charles. Drivers trying to go to the middle to diamond it off the corner, use the banking as a ramp. Gomez didn't back off this time, like we've seen Ryan do when he was side by side.
Oh, he did not. And right there's the contact, and hard contact between the 32 and the 23 afterwards. And looks like for the most part, everyone is going to avoid after that. But I'm not sure what the 21 was doing. He was just trying to get around the 23, I guess. He was kind of stopped on the track as we go back to live. And that is definitely an unfortunate break for that 32. As, the early unfortunate breaks got him to the front in second place. And then he has now been involved in one of those unfortunate breaks.
Yeah, and to be honest, that hard hit, the amount of hits he took, I think he's done for the race with how that truck is looking. Right now, I think everybody's now in the case where they have to get damage repair because there's 4 trucks remaining on the lead lap. All I can say is at the end of this race, that big penalty trailer in the middle of the infield is going to be very busy.
It is indeed. We'll definitely try to report the penalties if we are given that information. But there's going to be a line outside the hauler there to have a stern talking to. If at the least, I would say I would agree with you. And like you said, 4 drivers on the lead lap. We do have a few more cars out on the track than that, about 7 or 8 so far. But right now, 5th, 6th, and 7th in the pits. Walters, Teal, and Johnson not out on track. So we do not have a full top 10 drivers out on the track.
I don't know what to really say at this point because that took out a couple of the great contenders. Now, if you're Gomez, it's going to get very interesting because him and Tom Bourne, I think, are the best trucks remaining in this field. Kenny, he's not as quick as he was before. Logan Brakey, he's got temp issues. I think it might come down to the 48 and the 21, and we've seen before some of the contact between their passes early in this race.
Yeah, it's I'm with you. Speechless, I think, is the word. We'll look again. I don't think I've ever seen the scenario where our the fourth, fifth, and sixth, much less fourth and fifth and sixth drivers were in the position and still not on track. And not only are they not on track, they will still hold that position for another about 9 laps as the green flag's out.
And Bourne didn't go. He knew he got ran over. Bourne's got a major problem on the 21. He is worse than I thought.
And that truck is highly, highly damaged. And we'll see. Alex Walter has retired. His night is done. And that battle currently first, second position is starting to heat up. Once they stack that field up, it has really gotten intense. And that 21 and 10, we may see contact there soon.
I think there is that bit of a chance because, mind you, Durham is multiple laps down, 14 laps down. Bourne, if he can get up there, will need to at least make the pass for position. It doesn't help, too, when lap traffic wants to make passes.
It definitely does not. They're all mixed together right now throughout this field. As here comes that 10 machine. That is Steve Durham. He's trying to get by Robert Kenny. Again, that is not for position. As you mentioned, Steve is 14 laps down. Robert Kenny on the lead lap. That is not a battle for position. It's only a battle for real estate on the track.
The way this is looking, even though that's not for position, Durham is a top 5 truck if he can keep going for the next 6 or 7 laps. That's how this race has gone. He is running just a couple tenths off the leader.
Yeah, sitting in 8th place right now. Like I said, just a couple of laps, and he will be in the top 5. And it is passing people, but these drivers are not on the track right now that he's having to pass. So really, he doesn't need to push things too hard. He just needs to be consistent and keep that truck in one piece, or what is left of that truck. Anyways, it's pretty heavily damaged. And look back here with Shane Theory, and that battle's starting to get good as well.
Yeah, and Tom Bourne just seems to not have the straight line speed. That's why even lap trucks are just trying to pass him on the bottom side. Mind you, none of those spots are for position. They're spread out by as much as 6 laps apart per position. And, oh boy. Blythe nearly came up and crushed him there.
Yeah, that was not what these guys want to see, especially right now with 22 laps to go. We are coming up in a big crunch time zone. And then I say crunch time zone, that's as if we had enough drivers that could battle for the lead. Right now, there's only 4 of them. And Christian Gomez being out front with nearly a 5-second lead. He just needs to put it on cruise control and not make any mistakes.
Yeah, and has to be very careful when he gets to the lap traffic. In fact, if I get near the traffic, I think you back off at this point, because if you risk getting close to them and have an incident as the cleanest truck remaining in this field, then it becomes bonanza season, and you don't want it to go to bonanza season.
Definitely do not, as we go back to a second place. And that gap, I'm pretty sure that was just, a lap ago I said? He was 4 seconds. He now has a 6-second lead over the rest of this field, or at least second place. 7 over second and 12 over third and fourth. So that gap is growing very quickly. He could be coming into lap cars here soon, and that could cause problems if they don't let him by too easy.
I think Logan Brakey is going to let him by easily, knowing he's got engine trouble. Matt Dyer thinks it's going to be easy. It's just once they get to the rest of the field, and I don't know if it's going to be getting there timing wise. That could be the problem when there's the 11th and 16th place trucks, 3rd and 2nd. That's where it could get chaotic at the closing stage of the race if he goes 100% to the checker.
Yeah, and looking back here, got a nice little battle going on. It's not for a position at the moment. That is Bronson Stafford, who is back out on track right now, 15 laps down. Shane Therian just passed Alex Walter, who had retired it just a few laps ago. So a good little battle here between 6th and 7th position. Even though they won't actually trade positions if they trade spots, but two teammates having a good little battle.
I mean, why not at this point? The way this race has gone, it's been very weird. May as well have fun while trying to get to the checker flag and get your points and then celebrate the top 10.
Yeah, it definitely would. 6 laps separating them at the moment. Logan Brakey officially did go 1 lap down. He may or may not want to see the caution. Caution would get him back on the lead lap with a wave around or the lucky dog, but I'm not sure he wants to see it right now. Just 3 cars on the lead lap. Again, and it's just been because of a few wrecks here. We haven't had a lot, but it's involved a lot of cars when we see them.
Yeah, I mentioned there was the risk of big ones potentially. Wasn't expecting 4 of them in one race with the way this has gone, but Gomez right now, he's looking like he's in the catbird seat. Just needs it to stay green to be able to get to the checker flag. He's got the best truck overall. I think he's in great shape. Just keep it clean and get to the checker.
Yeah, that's all he's got to do as he comes and takes 7 laps to go. That's number 48. I believe you said Sparko Gaming on the hood of there. Also got some Coca-Cola and Thirst Master on there as well. We'll have a chat with him. I'm sure it's just about being consistent now and maintaining that now 12.3 second lead coming up with 5 to go.
Yeah, and he was pretty strong throughout this race. Mind you, he started at the front, kept inside the top 3, and then just seemed to get the lucky car go his direction. Since he's gotten in the lead, as controversial as it was to get the said lead at the contact with Justin Teal, he's just been able to set the rest of the pace for the final 40 laps or so of this event.
Yeah, and he's setting the pace, like you said, 4 laps to go. And we'll be getting, there it is, 3 laps to go for Gomez. Kenny, again, I think the theme of tonight's race is going to be beaten, battered, and bruised. As like you mentioned, that front right wheel with that camber damage doesn't even look like it's actually touching the track at some points.
It's a weird feeling when you have the truck feel like that, but it is touching the track technically. It's very, very difficult to turn coming to this white flag.
We are indeed. It is, of course, 1 lap to go, presented by Eco Wanting to Go, East Coast Media. It's going to get interesting here. I would definitely look forward to talking to these drivers about how this race was. But there's your race winner, Christian Gomez. Interesting and wild and crazy race here for Gomez to bring it home in victory lane.
Yeah, that team is going to be happy to get the W, but as Brakey says hello to him, lots of potential discussions after this one in the Bumped and Bruised 200.
That it was indeed. And again, we'll be talking to those top 3 here momentarily. Before we do, of course, we only had 3 drivers on the lead lap, we'll run through your results here real fast. Justin want to run through our top 10, and then I'll run through those last 10 before we head to the post-race show.
Sounds great to me, because Christian Gomez comes away with a controversial yet great victory for his season in that perspective by 11 plus seconds of a Robert Kenny. Tom Bourne was the last driver in the lead lap in third, with Logan Breakey, the last driver, single-digit laps down in fourth. Steve Durham, 14 laps down, came home with the top five. Bronson Stafford in sixth, with Shane Tarian coming home in seventh. Justin Teal got turned from the lead, finished 35 laps down with Tanner D. Johnson in eighth and ninth. And Alex Walter kept a clean truck most of the race, then was involved in one incident, and then never came out of the pits 36 laps down in 10th.
In 11th is going to be Tyler Blythe with the number 5 machine. Matt Dyer in that 84 machine. 12th, Austin Rhetorics in the 15. In 13th, 14th place is going to be the 46 of Trenton Jump. As we get close to the 100 laps down. 15th is going to be the 11 of Ryan Hartz, as he's in that Heartbreak Hotel, 90 laps down after a good run in the first half. 16th, we break the 100 laps down mark, is going to be the 53 of Eric Stamp, followed by 17th, the 51 of Jared Matthew. 18th is going to be the 45 of Cody Slaudecker, and of course, not making the race here tonight in 19th place is going to be the 27 of Kieran Collins. That'll do it for your unofficial race results, barring any penalties, anything like that could be issued. As being said, we will be right back here in just a moment with your post-race show coming up in just a few moments. All right, we're back here with your Clan Wars Servers post-race show. Of course, Clan Wars Servers, your official communication partner here for LSR TV. And we have your top 3 in the booth with us here tonight. And finishing in the third position is going to be the 21 of Tom Bourne. And I believe Justin has caught up with him.
Yes, indeed, Tom. It was a wild one. Let's put it that way. How do you feel coming home with the top 3 with a batter truck?
It's definitely a relief getting done with that race. It was a very interesting race throughout, and I'm just happy my truck held on for the 200 laps.
What was the truck's situation with how many bumps and bangs that 21 took tonight?
Still had a lot of damage to be repaired, but I remember that second to last caution, I think I had a total of 7 minutes of optional repairs, and somehow it stayed in third and the engine didn't blow. Throughout the entire race, the redlining was horrible. But, we got the job done.
What are some of the positives you feel you can take from this heading in towards the final race of the regular season next week?
Just basically gonna go out there, do my own thing. I'm part-time this season, so, my schedule really hasn't played out as what I wanted to do, but I'm just gonna go out there, do my own race. If I get a good finish, I get a good finish. But if not, then we're on to next week.
Next week, currently looking like a race at Charlotte to decide who goes to the postseason. Your thoughts on that track?
I've always liked Charlotte. I've Charlotte's easily one of my favorite tracks on the schedule. With the way the trucks run, it'll probably be full throttle around the track. So we'll see. Hopefully, there's no redlining like this week. But other than that, I think it should be a fun race.
Should be indeed. Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of a top 3 finish tonight?
Yeah, I just want to thank my team, Sky Motorsports, putting an amazing truck together for my first race back since the second race of the season. G Fuel, Fire News, Genesis Rescue Systems, all the guys there. They always help me out a lot. Want to congratulate Bob on his second place finish. Thought I was going to be able to get him. Wasn't able to, but we'll see what happens next week.
Congratulations on the top 3. You might have been battered and be bruised, but you still come home with a good finish. Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
That was Tom Bourne coming home in 3rd. Charles is standing by with your second place finisher, Robert Kenny.
Robert, we've got you here, and again, it's a rough race here. We got a lot of beaten up trucks. That truck looks like it went through a minefield, and you still bring it home in the position here. Oh, wow. As we'll check once. I'm having some mic issues real quick. Let's get those sorted out here real fast so the driver can hear us. And just give us one moment. There we go. Now we got it. We're having some mic issues here. But Robert, as we were saying there, a rough race overall. The truck looks like it went through a minefield here for you. But you end up in the second position. So to get a top 3 out of some beat up trucks here, how's it feel?
It feels pretty good. I'm not usually up here. I'm usually probably mid pack, just trying to survive. But I guess that's the main strategy at Bristol. Just gotta survive.
You definitely survived here tonight. Again, apologize for that mic issue going on, but an overall an eventful night here. When you come to Bristol, you expect a few cautions. So overall, what are your thoughts here, caution-wise? Was it a normal night for what you expected coming into the night?
I would have expected a few more cautions, but with the setup and us tacking out before entering the corners, it makes sense that there were less cautions because you couldn't really build the runs to get close to people, and you kind of had to just manage your engine temp the whole race. But it was nice to not have as many cautions as Bristol usually has.
Well, it definitely had a few, not too terribly many, under the lights here tonight. We have the chase coming up. Are you looking forward to getting the chase going and seeing where you finish in the place standings overall?
Yeah, definitely excited to get this chase started. I think it was last week I locked into it, so just cruising for the next week, I guess. And just hopefully making a run for a championship, but I'm not getting my hopes too high because there are a lot of good drivers in this league.
Oh, there are a lot of good drivers, including yourself. Anyone you need to thank here for that second place finish?
Yeah, just shout out to my sponsors on the truck, Astro Gaming Equipment and Sim Speed Shop, and my Sky Motorsports drivers, and want to congratulate my teammate Tom Bourne, who finished just behind me.
All right. Well, again, congrats on second place, and I believe Justin has caught up with our race winner down in Victory Lane. That's 48 of Christian Gomez.
Yes, indeed, I have. It's his second straight victory on the trot in 3 starts this season. Christian, first things first, how does it feel to win at Bristol?
It feels good. Fun fact, I only did my first laps earlier today, so yeah, because I've been busy with all going on, and it was good to escape from it and from all that going on in my personal life and getting this win. Especially at a track that I relatively didn't know. So I did just survived, let the carnage ensue, and more kind of like how last week at Kansas, just took care of my truck, and I was there at the end.
Yeah, I had the best looking truck in terms of damage by the end of the race, but one thing I have to ask, one of the controversial points of this race was when you paid the pass to get the lead on Justin Teal. Talk us through what happened from your perspective in that contact that ended up collecting 3 trucks.
He's a good friend of mine. He's actually the person that designed the paint scheme that you guys saw tonight. I talked with him about it. It looked like he was diamond cutting the corner, and he was just doing that arc down, and I was just holding my line. It was not intentional at all. He's one of the last people I would do that to. He and I actually we raced at Pooper Sebring, which is a dinner with racers event. Yesterday, we won that in the Miata class. So good friend of mine. I would never do that to him. It's just an unfortunate situation. I felt great guilt on me because, again, he's a good friend of mine. I would never do that to him.
I'm glad you talked it out with him and that, and glad you gave that context to your side of the story for that situation. But, of course, not compete for a championship, but making a statement in the regular season closing stages. Next race looking to go towards Charlotte for the next round. Your thoughts on that track?
Charlotte's been a good track to me. We'll see how it goes. I was successful at Kansas, another 1.5 mile oval, but clearly it's a different layout per se, but still same philosophy. You just got to check your tires and more or less just be in the draft. More of a bottom feeding track. So we'll see. It's we'll take it one race at a time here. I know that I'm definitely playing the spoiler here with these guys' championship, and we'll see. Maybe snipe a few more wins before the end of the season.
Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your victory tonight?
Just once more, like I said last week. Thank goodness Dorsmaster builds a damn good wheel. Color Teal Designs for the design, and yeah, praise Dale.
Congrats on the victory tonight, your second in a row.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's of course going to do it for the racing action here tonight. It was an interesting, wild, crazy night here under the lights at Bristol, as we've said a couple of times here tonight. As always, we want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight on behalf of myself, Charles, and of course, Justin, Brandon Kreutz, who couldn't be here, everyone at Adrenaline iRacing League. We hope you have a great rest of your night, and in these crazy times, make sure you stay safe and keep yourself healthy, and we'll see you Monday night as me and Justin Prince go back to the racing action for the Northwest Racing Cup Series. So until then, stay safe.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.